In human resources, there's an awful lot of laws you have to pay attention to, make certain they're followed rigorously. If you let them go and slide, you might have some disparity. You might have sometimes you sit down and say, well, I'll make an exception over here. And then somebody else comes by and says, well, you made an exception for that person. What about me? And then you're stuck in the middle of a lawsuit. Somebody reports you because you're paying preferential treatments. You're enforcing the rules on somebody else and not me. You have those kind of issues. You have to be consistent about how you deal with everything, especially on issues like this. Really, the Civil Rights Act, you'll see several different iterations of it, but we call it Title IX. One of the rules that you have to know about, the textbook doesn't really talk about it much. Whenever you see Roman numerals, it's a federal law. Whenever you see the Arabic numerals, like a regular six, in this or seven, in this case, a seven, okay, you actually would have a state law. So federal, normally we call it Title IX, and it's got Roman numerals to depict it. And in 1964, we passed it, and there's been multiple amendments. The most recent one that's of serious consequences, 1991. But it prohibits the discrimination based on race, religion, creed, sex, national origin, age, sexual orientation, and gender identity. And just a couple of years ago, we changed the way the Supreme Court interpreted the word sex, not only to mean male, female, but also sexual orientation, any type of sex reference. So that being said, we really have multiple different aspects. You have to pay attention to all this. Most of us are aware of it, but there's actually a law that prohibits it. Then you have the Equal Employment Act. It really focuses in on the aspect of making certain there's broader powers to an agency called the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They give it a lot, it's been given a lot of broad powers by this law here, the Civil Rights Act. So you also have this giving the power of this agency, and the agency has the charge to enforce this rule as well as several others. In essence, and enforces affirmative action, which actually, believe it or not, in California, we've rejected the concept here in California overall. So we don't have affirmative action in California at the time of this recording. But that being said, the EEOC pretty much they focus in on trying to make certain that people are treated on an equal basis across the world. There's another office out there called the Office of Federal Contract Compliance. On this one, they're making certain that you follow the federal law. And if you have a grant of over $50,000, you have to really follow some of the mandates that are not applicable in California, including affirmative action. So that's another one. But if you recall, Title VII, okay, was amended again from 1964 in 1999 to give it the victims power to actually go to a jury trial looking for damages if there's a violation. So you have that even increased in 1991. Then you have the ADA. It's kind of one of the most unusual laws that's ever been passed. The Americans Disability Act focuses in on the aspect of making certain that everybody, including people with disabilities, would sit down and be given the same consideration for employment. It opened an awful lot of doors, in some ways figuratively, in other ways physically. If you look around the country, you'll see that once upon a time, prior to 1990, doorways were often 24 inches wide. If you ever check out a wheelchair, most wheelchairs, the wheelbase is about 23 inches. So if you're stuck and bound in a wheelchair, you would barely get in the doorway a lot of times. And if not, if you did, you scrape your knuckles on your hands as you're trying to wheel yourself in. All of a sudden, the ADA required the doorway to be made 36 inches, and it changed an awful lot of access. But also the aspect of going to a curb in a public area, all of a sudden you have to drop the front wheels of your wheelchair 4 inches, slam and jar, and hopefully not fall to your chair, and then have another thud, and then try to figure out how to get your wheelchair up the other side. Now we have ramps, not everywhere, but almost everywhere on the corners for a wheelchair person to actually get through. Those tiny things and those adjustments of having door openers and closers in different ways and different access opened up an entire world. And all of a sudden, people that we excluded from the employment process, we excluded really from life almost to some extent, for a life of pain and suffering, already what they were going past. Now they have access to an awful lot of different aspects of it. So you'll see this, what kind of accommodations are reasonable? Well, that's what the law does define an awful lot. And then also there's certain fiscal parameters in it as well. But in essence, we really allowed this to go forward. It's probably one of the most expensive pieces of legislation, but nobody squeaked because here's something that's true. All of us could be in that same chair or in that same situation. Some of us, we hope to live to be old in the process. And that also, older people are more protected by this because they don't get it run as well. So the reality is, this is one of those moments where America came together and actually did something really smart that helped a certain category of employees. You also have another one, and this law is probably the most violated right now in the United States, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. In essence, you can't discriminate against people that are over the age of 40. This probably happens more than anything else, and it's a wink, wink thing an awful lot of times, and there's claims filed on it. But for the most part, in essence, it's a cost-cutting strategy by too many employers to get rid of your older and higher paid workers and hire somebody with less experience and less salary in the process. So this is actually a big deal. So you have that one as well. I want you to know the names of these because these are commonly used on a regular basis in the area of human resources. You'll see the Age Discrimination Act, you'll see the American Disability Act, you'll see the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Those are out there. You also have this aspect, and if you read the papers, this is probably the most wild part of human resources is sexual harassment gone wild. There's all kinds of things. Quid pro quo is a matter of if you do this, I'll do this for you. If you go on a date with me, and also maybe we'll hang out together afterwards, then this will happen to you. That's out there. And by the way, it's not men and women. It's actually sometimes women and men, women, men, you name it, it's out there. Quid pro quo has always left its mark on every organization. And it really is an ugly situation that it creates inside the organization. There's all kinds of tension. What if a company imposes a no dating rule? From a company perspective, it makes an awful lot of sense. I mean, all that happens is somebody dates a couple times, they break up. All of a sudden, you have these two former close partners hating each other in the workplace. You have that, except I don't know how it's possible to regulate human behavior. That being said, on this no dating rule, if you can pull it off, more power to you. It would certainly stop an awful lot of problems. The best thing to do when you come into work is don't look around, don't talk to anybody, do your job and keep your head down and don't flirt, don't look, don't say anything, don't comment, just do your job and then leave as fast as you can. I don't know if we can do that. That's probably the best way of doing it. So what would be the problems if you impose a rule? Does HR then go around and spy? You send HR agents out at every single place people have lunch at and spy to see, oh, I saw you two dating. You can't do that. So that being said, no dating rule, maybe you have a different structure, different strategy, but for the most part, there's a lot of merit to it. The idea of the sexual harassment part, there are issues with it, and they're always out there, and they always make really big headlines. A couple things I want you to know about the legal side. We're going to have another section on it as well. The Civil Rights Act, know the 6 protected classes, know that there's a 1964 week, and it's called Title VII, and it's got Roman numerals on it. State laws have Arabic numerals on them. So you have that. Know the ADA, which is the American Disability Act. You'll find in your textbook too about the Family Medical Leave Act. You'll know about HIPAA as well. Okay. And then you also have age discrimination. And also on the other part is there's OSHA. And we'll talk about the aspect of OSHA and Cal OSHA and also something called COBRA in the time to come. So that being said, here's some of the basic laws I want you to know. Put inside your hat to know what's out there, and we'll talk more about them as we go through this chapter. Take care.